resorting back to the ways that kept me on the same lap, the same loop, the same shot, the same hoop, the same false hope, the same doom, the same wasted days chasing pay, the same ending, same tune. All the things of this world will pass, including people. God, show me the truth. And looked to the sky and said, I need your help, God, and cried. I'ma stop it right here in my life and put all of my faith in Christ. He's the way and the truth and the life. I'ma stop it right here in my life. I'ma stop it right here in my life and put all of my faith in Christ. He's the way and the truth and the life. I'ma stop it right here in my life.
Whatever is not transformed is transferred to the next generation. Whatever God does not transform in your life, you will not die with it. You will pass on to your children and to your grandchildren. Some of you are fighting a battle that did not start with you, but I prophesy today it will end with you. Some of you are fighting a sickness that did not start with you, but by the presence of the Spirit of God, I want to speak to you today that it will end with you, Mordecai. It will end with you, Esther. For you will raise for such a time as this to put an end to this 500 years cycle.
I'ma stop it right here in my life and put all of my faith in Christ. He's the way and the truth and the life. I'ma stop it right here in my life. I'ma stop it right here in my life. Right here, right now. And put all of my faith in Christ. He's the way and the truth and the life. I'ma stop it right here in my life.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That song is awesome. I absolutely love it, and it is so much truth. We have to stop. Wow. The
Yeah,
generation
right. It brings chills.
the generational curses, and we all know them in different aspects of our lives, right? And all of us have different degrees of those throughout our families. And wow, I love that. Thank you, Mist, for asking to play that, and thank you for offering to present tonight. I'm excited. How you feeling? You excited?
Still a little nervous, but excited. Yeah, there's no reason to be nervous. Like these guys are all our friends and stuff. But I want to do well. And yeah, that song I stumbled across it. He's got a couple of other really amazing ones on that same album that are just like, they just hit. They have the power to move you, and that song really means a lot to me. It kind of came on the radio, or it came on my playlist when you and I were kind of talking the other day, and I was like, wow, this really needs to be a part of it, because as you know, and some of the other people know, it was kind of like the moment that I realized that I was supposed to dedicate my life to defending the children, whatever that meant. It was as if seeing God. It was this greater vibration, and this greater purpose, and it was like all of a sudden it all made sense. All of the pain that I had gone through and everything, it was like, oh, now I know why. Now I get it. They say there's two quests in life, and one is to find your purpose, and then the second one is to live it. And so I just think that song really kind of just captures it. And it's also kind of so sweet and beautiful, but also thunderous and powerful, and it like, yeah, it's just a great song.
Absolutely, it is. Thank you for sharing it with us, and we're gonna have to start playing that more. That's for sure. Let's go over to Kim real quick. It's been a while since you've been up here, sister. How are you this evening?
I am doing very well, thank you. And yes, when you said she's gonna love it, I figured it was one of those songs that are gonna be screaming at me again. But yes, I loved that. I loved that, Mist. That was amazing. And yeah, speaking of the generational curses, I mean, I guess I do share a lot of them with the host of the space. Um, but yeah, it's just so true. I mean, we're living it. We're trying to get out of it, and we're trying to break those cycles. But yeah, it's real. It really is. So, thank you everybody for coming into the space tonight. Please go ahead and like and share, retweet, whatever it's called nowadays, bookmark it. As my friend that just joined the space likes to say, bookmark it because you never know what we're going to say. And same way with this group, too. So, welcome to the space, Miss Amy.
No doubt. You don't know what's going to come out of our mouths, that's for sure. But you do know it's not going to be a cuss word typically because we record this space and we have rules so that it can be played back through to anyone at any time. But yes, thank you everyone for joining us. We're going to go ahead and roll right into it, but I want to say thank you again to all of you. I see a lot of people that are regulars and some new ones. Thank you and welcome to Protect the Children. We are here every Tuesday night, 7 to 9 Central. We did take a much needed break off for about a month, but we are back in full swing. And next week, we are going to have an amazing one as well. And I need to get to talking actually with Mist in the back channels because seeing the layout for tonight, we might actually want to do 2 weeks. I don't know. Think about that because I know we're going to have people to interact, right, and communicate about it, and I'm going to want to. So I think we're going to need at least 2 or 3 weeks to go over this, which is good because that gives us time to absorb it and come back and talk about it, which I really like. So maybe we can discuss that later on. Maybe we'll have an answer by the end of the space for that. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to let it roll over to Mist and let him start presenting. Thank you again. And like Kim said, please push this space out. This is one that we've never done before. And I do believe this is something we all need to be discussing. Whether it's spiritual warfare, whether it's the entities and powers that be around us, there's definitely has been a cultivation of a dark elite, and we need to be aware of it so that we can protect ourselves and our communities and our families. All right, take it away, sir.
Cool. Yeah, thanks. And no worries on if we need to do this many times. We'll just work through it. I so tonight. So the first, what we're actually focusing on tonight is a little. I call them red cell perspectives. And it's just it's kind of like a warning, an information warning, like you see all these kind of articles and stuff. I don't know if it's exactly that, but I originally wrote it, you could call this the cultivation of a dark elite, you could say influencer, you could say, the grooming of a child, even. All of these things kind of follow this manipulative pipeline. We were just going through some things in my community, and it kind of provided a good experience, or a good template for me to kind of really focus my thoughts and turn it into, oh, what are these people doing that turn. So this one was written with becoming a dark influencer in mind, right? Somebody who is trying to subvert or invert society in some sort of way, leading you further away from truth. So, and then I kind of wrote a couple of them, and I quickly realized that I needed to, well, that it needs to be more than just an essay or two, that it needs to be kind of like a field manual. So that's what I've been dedicating a lot of my free time doing. And so this actually wound up being chapter 5 of the manual, but I'm going to go ahead and read the introduction to the manual and try to kind of just get through that. I will pause at some of the sections, but I do just kind of want to get through that one. And then when we get to the cultivation of the elite, I will pause at every section, and I can get this posted, if in a few minutes too, so that people, if they would like to read, they can read along. But so yeah, I'm just going to kind of power through on the introduction here, and then we can, if anybody has a question or wants to say anything, hop right up or raise your hand or whatever. I don't mind pausing. It is written down in front of me, and I do kind of suggest taking some notes, because I've got a lot to say, and for me, this is second nature. So sometimes I rattle over things that maybe you haven't thought about before. So don't feel bad if you need me to stop and come back and or make it more smooth. I'm also taking notes while I'm making this to try to make this presentation better. Go ahead, Brandy, and then we'll get into it.
All right, I didn't want to interrupt you. So, if you are new to the space and you're requesting, please give us a few minutes to look over your profile and vet you. And definitely, we will get you up here if everything is good. And what else? What else? What else? Oh, I did want to say if we look at your profile and it says you're the biggest uncensored, unfiltered commentary person, that's going to be the last person that we're going to give a mic tonight. So please just keep in mind what you post because it does reflect on who gives you a mic in spaces. All right, Mist, go ahead.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, okay, so I'm just gonna hop right into it. The field manual wound up being called a field manual on influence, radicalization, and psychological defense. And the introduction is understanding the battlefield of the human mind. There's a battle, and so I'm just gonna read what I've written, and we'll just see if anybody has questions or if it sparks anything in anyone. I want people to think about how these things relate to you. We've seen these templates out there. We've all seen these things happen online. I just kind of want you to be able to look at the mechanisms behind it, almost like being able to be like Neo when he's able to read the Matrix code on the walls. So go right into it. There's a battlefield most people never realize they have entered. It has no front line, there are no uniforms. No warning sirens announce its beginning, and the weapons may be nothing more than words, images, relationships, algorithms, incentives, and stories. And the battlefield is the human mind. Every day, people make decisions based on what they believe, who they trust, where they belong, and what they believe their lives mean. Those decisions are influenced constantly by family, friends, institutions, advertisers, political movements, religious organizations, entertainers, online communities, and the people they follow. Influence itself is not evil. In fact, civilization depends upon healthy influence. Parents influence children, teachers influence students, mentors influence apprentices, ideas influence generations. The danger begins when influence becomes manipulation and manipulation becomes control. This field manual exists to examine that transition. So, this manual exists because the modern information environment has changed the scale and speed of human influence. A person once needed access to a newspaper, television station, publishing house, political organization, or public institution to reach a large audience. Today, an individual with a phone can reach thousands of people before breakfast. A compelling narrative can travel across the world in minutes. A community can form without anyone ever meeting face to face. An isolated individual can find people who share their worldview almost instantly. This transformation has created extraordinary opportunities for education, communication, commerce, activism, and human connection. It has also created new opportunities for exploitation. The same mechanisms that can build communities can be used to create echo chambers. The same influencers who can inspire people can manipulate them. The same search for belonging that leads someone towards a healthy community can lead someone toward a high control environment. The same desire for justice that motivates civic action can, under certain circumstances, be redirected towards hatred. Understanding that distinction has become a form of psychological self defense. Throughout this manual, you
Hey,
will see.
Miss,
Yeah, go ahead.
can I ask you something? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you go back? There was something that I really want you to repeat because I think it's very important. So many of us in here do know this, but others are new to X. And we think that we can trust people once we get to what we think know them, right, on the app. So there was a part about three sentences back where it was talking about the way the influencer can, what I'm going to call, manipulate psychologically. Will you repeat that part?
Yeah. So leading into it, it has also created new opportunities for exploitation. The same mechanisms that build communities can be used to create echo chambers. The same influencers who can inspire people can manipulate them. The same search for belonging that leads someone towards a healthy community can lead someone towards a high control environment. Is that?
That one. Yes. Okay, real quick. I hate to interrupt you, but I think it's very important. A lot of people in this space right now weren't on here 4 years ago. Some were, but it's important to understand that not long ago, I'm going to say about 2 or 3 years ago now, at the max. Yeah, I've been on here so about 2 to 3 years max. There was a very big profile that was on the account or that was on the app that was saying he was a veteran and grifted the community over years of gaining the trust of everyone, right? Um, Grifted the community of over $13,000. I don't remember if it was a GoFundMe or Gifts and Go, and I'm not going to put his name out there, but many of you know who I'm talking about. Said he was a veteran. Said that he inherited the property that he was living on. It was worth millions. It's what was stated in Spaces. I was there to hear it. And come to find out, the state that the so-called, I'm saying so-called because it ended up not being true, veteran that he was, in the state where he lived, if you owned property and it was in your name, you had no property tax if you were 100% disabled. So it's very important for people, even when, because this occurred, even when you meet them on the app, everything sounds perfectly legit. Start looking into things you can, because it literally took me coming into a community I was never in until that point and hearing the story about him needing money, where I immediately went to someone that was directly related and said, hey, if you look up that state, veterans don't owe tax in that state. And that's when everything broke loose and all the walls came down, right? And he left X, and I'm sure he's back, but under a different name. But this is very real, guys, and these people can join our communities, and we can think they're very good and very legit for years. So I just want to say that out loud, that it absolutely happens here, to the best of us who think that we are cannot be fooled. Go ahead, Kim.
I just want to add everybody. I want to remind everybody to like, retweet, and bookmark. But we're going to wait in just a few minutes on bringing people up. We are going to let Into the Mist, go on with his presentation, and then that way everybody can give their full attention to him. And then after he says a big chunk of what he'd like to say, and he needs a break, then we can start bringing some people up. All right, thank y'all very much. And I hope I didn't say that ugly. Me
Not
and
at
Brandy
all.
have okay. We have
Not at all,
RBF,
sister.
so wanted to make sure.
Yes, we do. And Mist, yeah, just go ahead and let us know when you're ready to move people up for questions, and we'll do that. And that way we don't have any interruptions. Thank you for letting me
Sure.
share that.
Yeah, and I think it's important because just the other day there was someone scamming people. I'm not going to go into names or anything like that, but just in a very close area to a lot of us in here, it just happened. It happens all the time, and it I I noticed enough times online where it was like I've got to say something, right? Like these communities keep getting destroyed by these people that come in, and then they, whether they have an agenda or whatever. Anyway, I'm going to continue on. So you'll see the dark priest class is used throughout this manual as an archetype. It does not refer to a specific organization, ethnicity, religion, political movement, profession, or hidden group. It represents the hypothetical actor who understands human influence and uses that understanding primarily to accumulate power, dependency, loyalty, or control. And it is worth noting that some people out there who are these dark influencers, they're not actually working on an agenda. They're not not everybody is some mastermind supervillain. Some people just repeat the patterns that they notice, and in order to gain following or clout or money or whatever. So it is the dark priest is therefore less important as a person than as a pattern. The archetype asks us to consider a difficult question. What would influence look like if its objective were not meant to empower people, but to control them? Once that question is asked, familiar behaviors begin to look different. Mentorship can become cultivation, belonging can become dependency, leadership can become control, Persuasion can become manipulation, community can become isolation, and identity can become a weapon. And when this all happens, if this influence, this manipulation becomes self-sustaining, the purpose of this, the purpose of understanding harmful influence is not to reproduce it. This distinction is fundamental. A cybersecurity analyst studies vulnerabilities in order to secure systems. A physician studies disease in order to treat them, to treat disease. A firefighter studies fire in order to prevent destruction. A counterterrorism analyst studies radicalization in order to interrupt it. The same principle applies here. This manual examines influence from the perspective of recognition, prevention, resilience, and defense. It intentionally emphasizes observable patterns, psychological mechanisms, historical context, warning signs, protective factors, and intervention opportunities rather than providing operational instructions for manipulating or radicalizing people. Knowledge is not inherently dangerous. The question is, what do we do with it? So, perhaps the most important principle in this entire manual is that people who become vulnerable to manipulation are still people. They're not monsters, they're not statistics, they're not radicals. They may be someone's son or daughter, someone's brother or sister, someone's friend, coworker, someone who once had completely different dreams. This matters because contempt is a poor prevention strategy. If we describe every vulnerable person as evil, we stop looking for the conditions that made the manipulation possible. If we assume everyone who expresses anger is dangerous, we create fear instead of understanding. If we treat every unusual belief as evidence of extremism, we undermine the very freedom we claim to protect. So, defensive analysts requires discrimination, not in the social sense, or maybe discernment is a better word, but in the intellectual sense of distinguishing one phenomenon from the other. A compelling narrative can travel. Oh, sorry, I'm reading the wrong paper here. Okay, the objective is to recognize patterns, not manufacture enemies. Throughout this manual, several recurring human needs will appear again and again and again. And these things apply to all of us. This is just life defense. And these defenses we can turn around and apply to our children because these needs are the same things that groomers cultivate in your child to try to turn them against you. So we're going to look at belonging, purpose, identity, significance, recognition, and certainty. These needs are neither weaknesses nor defects, they are part of being human. The problem occurs when an unhealthy system discovers that satisfying those needs can create dependency. A person who wants belonging may be offered community. A person who wants significance may be offered importance. A person who wants certainty may be offered absolute answers. A person who wants justice may be offered an enemy. The offer may feel initially like salvation. The cost may not become invisible till much later. The most effective influence systems rarely begin by demanding everything. They begin by offering something: attention, friendship, purpose, recognition, opportunity, belonging. The individual may willingly walk through the first door. The question is what happens after they enter? Does the organization encourage independent thought? Can members disagree? Can they maintain relationships outside of the group? Can they leave without punishment? Can they change their minds without humiliation? Does leadership remain accountable? Does the organization tolerate scrutiny? These questions become more than the slogans on the wall because healthy influence preserves autonomy and manipulation influence gradually consumes it. Um, Sorry. So, the ultimate purpose of this manual is to strengthen psychological resilience. A resilient individual is not someone who believes nothing. A resilient individual is someone who is capable of asking, why do I believe this? Who benefits from my belief? What evidence would change my mind? Am I being encouraged to think or simply to conform? Can I disagree with the people around me and still belong? What happens if I leave? And have I become more connected to the world or more isolated from it? This is just the last little section, and then we can open it up a little bit. I'll start reading from the actual chapter I want to get through. But so the strongest defense against psychological manipulation is not a populace that trusts no one. It is a population that knows how to trust wisely. A free people cannot eliminate influence, nor should they try. Influence is part of civilization. The objective is to make influence accountable, to make manipulation recognizable, to make radicalization interruptible, and to make ordinary people difficult to exploit. The Dark Priest class is therefore not the story of some mysterious enemy hiding behind every institution. It is a warning about what happens whenever human influence is separated from human dignity. The battlefield is real, the weapons are often invisible, and the first line of defense is understanding. So I'll go ahead and pause there. That ends the introduction, and yeah, I'll just kind of give someone else a chance to speak for just a moment if they want, so I could take a drink or whatever.
All right. Go ahead, Miss Marquis. How are you tonight? And everyone, go ahead and request those mics and come up. Share with us and let's get this conversation going. How are you
Hey,
tonight, Sam?
hey, Brandy. Hey, Miss. Hey, Kim. Thank you all. I think that Miss nailed something there toward the end of what he was just talking about, and I think some of it comes with accountability when people are trying to persuade or do things that you get to know where you know are not right. Okay, and when you realize it's not right, and that there's being harm done to others, whether it be just calling them bad names, would it be harming children, whatever it be, is it's like they're never held. And I'm not talking about this in a sense that everybody talks about this in general, but they're not held accountable because it's human nature, it's human actions. And I'm not talking about people that have done things like Fauci and all that, but these are everyday people that we're around. And I think it becomes very hard for those that have been exposed to people that want to influence you indirectly or incorrectly or however many different ways you want to look at it. Once you've been influenced or once you've been impacted, then I think it's really hard for those that have to wonder why that person can't, why they're not held accountable. Why do they keep getting to do what they do? Why do they keep being the mean girl? You know, if you go back to when we were in school, there was always these kids that we wanted to know. You know what I'm saying? Whether it was the basketball players, where it was the chemistry students, whatever. And but once you got to know them, you're like, well, they're really just normal, or they're really not all that, one or the other. And a lot of times, if they were really not all that, that meant there was a lot of judgment and meanness or peer pressure that came along. And so, I do think when we talk about this, that when we're trying to protect the children and we're trying to teach the children things they don't need to do, is we need to make them aware that they've got to be accountable to help and protect themselves, even at 5 and 6. Like you don't go away with strangers because that stranger is not going to be held accountable just because at that moment in time they can't be held accountable. They might be down the road, but right then they can't. And I think that's what's one of the hard things about what you're dealing with a dark elite. That's just my thoughts.
This is a heavy topic already. I'm just like, whew. We should have prayed at the beginning. Thank you for sharing that, Marquis. And no, you're right. And there is always that group, right? I think no matter what age you are, no matter what area you're in, there's always that. So definitely, I think this is a much needed topic. And thank you for sharing that. Go ahead, Zach, and then we will go over to American Caesar. All right, sweet. Thank you, Zach. All right, guys, y'all heard it. You're being live streamed on CSN's website tonight, so keep keep it keep it nice. Go ahead, American. How are you? Welcome to our space.
Thanks. I'm doing well. You were talking about earlier about infiltrators, like the guy who grifted everyone for money. So one thing that's like a new type. I just really think this needs to be talked about. There's a good example right now that is prevalent. There's this dude, bearded veteran, who I think is an American. I think he means well, right? He's mostly on Facebook, right? But on Facebook.
Okay, I'm sorry. I hate to mute you and censor you, but we don't want to call any names out in this space. Again,
Okay,
we
I got you.
represent.
I'll use
Yeah.
different words. I'll use different words. I'm
Okay.
just trying to. I'm
Go
just an,
go for it.
it's the
Yep.
example of the situation, right? So there is an individual that is on Facebook, right? And the only people that can message him are subscribers, right? But his subscribers aren't, they might have American Facebook accounts, but anyone can make any Facebook accounts. And so where he goes and what he does and who he interacts with are the people who are only his subscribers, i.e., the people paying him. So he might think he's representing our interests as a military veteran, but he can be quite easily piloted around once he's financially dependent on the people who are messaging him, right? And in general, especially when people grow in large subscriber accounts, they're not checking to see if the people who are messaging them are real. They see a picture and an American looking name. They're not clicking on the profile and saying, oh, this is an account that has one picture, no photographs, 12 followers, and they're all from India. Right. They just see the American name, the American picture. It seems nice, and they're feeding them. And so in this way, like, he's not an evil person, that individual, right? He's being manipulated in this fashion. But that this manipulation is happening and he might himself not even be able to recognize it is really true. And we see this exact same sort of manipulation when it comes to TikTok live gifting, right? They manipulate females through the creation of artificial currency on command, mind you, because there's no government agency capable of tracking whether or not TikTok is literally printing money through digital prizes. And so we're seeing a massive grooming of mostly the female population through these means, where they're being created, they're being given free money by artificial accounts just for the purposes of segregating them from general society and making them accessible to the TikTok corporate elite or whoever has money printing over that specific digital currency. And that's just an example. There are other digital currencies where the same thing is happening.
Wow. And you just go ahead, Miss. He just touched on something that's just like, oh my gosh, the grooming that goes on TikTok. I mean, that's a whole other space. Holy cow. Go ahead, Miss. Thank you for that, American. You're so right.
Yeah, I actually totally agree. And it's like, so the way that I refer to it is, the psyop breeds the behavior, like, and so that's what grooming is in any sense, it's, we're not directly, well, that probably is some sort of psychological operation. And it could just be consumerism, obviously I think there's probably some things darker going on, but I love that you brought that up, American Caesar, because that's one of the things that I talk about is like incentives, and how the person is kind of groomed themselves. So unless anybody else has anything to say real quick, I'll just hop right in. And now, so this one, I was trying to get it posted. My next talking break, I will get it finished, splitting into different tweets, and I can post it down below so that everyone can read along. But I'm just going to go through pretty much my headings. I've tried to turn it into bite-sized chunks, so that we can discuss things in between. It won't be kind of as long as me reading through the introduction. There'll be, maybe a page or page and a half or so of stuff, and then we can talk about it. And again, if you want me to stop at any point in time and it is a need to type thing where you're like, oh, wait, just go back and read that last line or something, I don't mind that at all. So this is chapter 5, The Cultivation of a Dark Elite. Power is rarely sustained through force alone. Throughout history, influence has more often been cultivated through relationships, incentives, identity, social reinforcement, and strategic investment in human capital. Whether examining political movements, corporations, religious institutions, intelligence services, high control groups, activist organizations, criminal enterprises, or social movements, one recurring pattern emerges. Influential individuals are rarely created overnight, they are cultivated. This paper presents a hypothetical analytical framework describing how a high control organization might identify, recruit, develop, and deploy individuals capable of influencing others. While modern observers may associate such figures with influencers, the model extends far beyond social media. The end product may be a politician, executive, activist, academic, media personality, religious leader, cultural gatekeeper, public individual, terrorists, it really can apply anywhere once you see the template. The central premise is straightforward. The most durable form of influence is not imposed, it is internalized. I'm going to say that again. The most durable form of influence is not imposed, it is internalized. When a person's identity, incentives, relationships, reputation, and sense of purpose become intertwined with a system, continued loyalty often requires little external enforcement. The individual comes to perceive the interests of the organization as aligned with their own interests. At that point, influence becomes self sustaining. The purpose of this assessment is not to accuse any specific organization of employing these methods. Rather, it provides a structured framework for recognizing recurring patterns of influence and elite cultivation across different contexts. So, the underlying principles of influence. Although organizations differ dramatically in their goals and methods, the psychological foundations of influence remain remarkably consistent. Belonging often precedes belief. People, and I love that you posted Ali Hopper's image up there about Maslow's hierarchy of needs because it ties directly into this. So, belonging often precedes belief. People frequently join communities before fully adopting the beliefs of those communities. Acceptance by a valued group often exerts greater influence than intellectual persuasion alone. Identity is more durable than opinion. Opinions can change quickly, identity changes slowly. Once beliefs become integrated into a person's self concept, disagreement may be experienced as a personal threat rather than an intellectual challenge. For an example, think identity politics. Small commitments lead to small commitments lead to larger commitments. Individuals are more likely to accept major obligations after first accepting minor ones. Influence progresses through gradual escalation rather than dramatic demands. Incentives shape behavior. Status, recognition, financial rewards, access, prestige, advancement, and social approval influence decision making. People adapt to the incentive structures surrounding them, often without conscious awareness. And this is one of the places where it must be noted that shunning can be a powerful tool too. They can praise you with reward and stuff like that, but then they can also train you in their pullback. Dependency increases compliance. The more dependent a person becomes on a system for identity, relationships, income, reputation, or even just views or purpose, the more difficult it becomes to challenge that system. Public commitment strengthens private conviction. When individuals publicly identify with a cause, they frequently strengthen their internal commitment to maintain consistency between their actions and self image. Social reinforcement exceeds direct control. Peer approval, admiration, criticism, and exclusion frequently shape behavior more effectively than direct orders. Many systems rely upon social reinforcement rather than overt coercion. And eternalization is the end state. The most effective systems eventually require little external supervision. Individuals regulate themselves because organizational values have become integrated into their personal identity. And I'll go ahead and pause there before going on to the next one to see if anybody has anything to say, or if not, I can just continue on.
And just so you know, I've got a 5 minute short queued up for whenever you want to take an intermission and just give yourself a break. Maybe halfway through the space, possibly, just letting you know.
Sounds perfect to me. Yeah, because we're going to kind of this is where I really start to talk about the framework. This is the title of this heading is the cultivation process. And so I'm just going to go through each of the phases that I have. I've tried to break them down into bite-sized chunks. And I'll just pause at the end of every one. They're pretty short. But this is where things like taking notes will really help. Because as you think about this later on, I want these seeds to be planted in your mind, and I want you to go out into the world, and I want you to start noticing these things because we've all seen this happen. Any one of us that's kind of been on the internet for a while has seen these things happen, and we may not always be able to put our finger on it, but it's kind of like that thing that bothers you in the back of your mind where you're like, I just can't quite see it. So I'm just going to continue on the cultivation process. The following phases describe one possible progression through which a hypothetical organization cultivates influential advocates and future elites. No single phase proves manipulation. The analytical view lies in recognizing patterns that emerge over time. And this isn't an exhaustive list. This isn't complete. It could need more. But anyway, phase one, identification. The objective of this phase is to identify individuals that possess influence potential. The mechanism is they organizations seek individuals who possess characteristics that can be amplified, directed, or leveraged. The desired traits are, oh, go ahead, Brandy. Yeah, get it.
So something just hit me, and I want to say this real quick. So while you're listening, I just feel I know a lot of what you're about to share um, about how this works. I want you to listen to this, and I want you to think about as he shares this. What happens on this app. We can get close to people and sometimes not see the forest for the trees. And before we know it, things turn on us. And it didn't happen overnight, but gradually, right, as you were mentioning earlier. And I think sometimes we don't see that shift. And before you know it, the snake bites you. Okay, go ahead. I had to share that.
No, yeah, you are absolutely right. And it actually was that happening to a few of my friends in a few different arenas on this app. It was almost like the snakes all kind of decided to come out of the woodwork together. And that was what really led to kind of me wanting to make this, was just that, was about this. I'll just kind of go back to the mechanism. The mechanism, organizations seek individuals who possess characteristics that may be um, amplified, directed, or leveraged. Desired traits are charisma, intelligence, ambition, communication ability, existing networks, leadership potential, emotional vulnerabilities, desire for recognition, idealism, resourcefulness. The objective is not perfection, the objective is potential. So, some observable indicators that you can look at from the outside is there's unusual attention from recruiters or mentors. There's invitations to exclusive opportunities or groups, and there's increased interest in the individual's future potential. So that ends phase one. If nobody has anything to say, I'll kind of just continue on. Is that cool, Brandy? You good?
Yes, sir, we are good.
Cool. Um, Phase two, invitation. The objective of this phase is to create a sense of exclusivity and selection. People tend to value opportunities perceived as rare, prestigious, or difficult to attain. Even just being part of an exclusive group chat sometimes is enough to kick off this process. And the methods that you could see are exclusive invitations, VIP treatment, insider access, personal mentorship, special recognition. The recruit begins to feel chosen. Some of the indicators that you can look at from the outside are there's frequent references to exclusivity, whether it be a data set or it be an influencer, or I mean a group, right? It could be uh, either of those things. Could be emphasis on being part of a selective group and increased emotional attachment to membership. It's they start defending them, they'll start spending all of their time with them. That's phase two. I'll just keep on powering through until I see a hand, and if my screen doesn't see a hand, then yeah, just cut me off for sure. But I do kind of want to have these be digested. They want to identify the person that can seek their needs, right? Somebody that has the potential to fill this need, right? Of the influence that they're looking for, this manipulation. And then they need to draw that person in. So they seek them, they draw them in, and then they start with the phase three, which is reward conditioning. And this is one of the most important parts because that's where the real grooming begins. They've already kind of set the trap for your mind, and this is where they start to really actually form the neural pathways in your brain to become the person that they want you to be. They're actually changing your brain. So the objective of reward conditioning is to associate conformity with positive outcomes. The mechanism is that the behavior followed by rewards tends to be repeated. In the same sense, too, there can be the shunning, and usually what that is it's an isolation from the group. You are no longer allowed access. You are no longer, we're not going to pay attention to you. We'll give you the cold shoulder as a group. That also is a very powerful training tool, especially when somebody has been love bombed with rewards, because they're going to seek to go back to that warmth and comfort, and value that they were getting from that. So some of the rewards could be things like visibility, status, financial opportunity, advancement, access, praise, influence, um, views, clicks, likes. There's so many different things, but those are just some of the things to mention. So again, that's some of the rewards could be visibility, status, financial opportunity, advancement, access, praise, influence, space numbers in spaces, right? People showing up in spaces. So that's some of the observable indicators on the outside would be opportunities increase after demonstrations of loyalty, public praise for alignment, and then rising dependence upon organizational approval, right? You have to earn your way deeper into their organization. So that one's a little bit, we can all kind of think about that, but I want to pause for a quick second and just give anyone a chance if they wanted to. If not, I can continue on.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, we have quite a few different people that have joined us now. And what's really funny is I look down, I'm trying to find some shorts on one of our friends and happened to run across the Liberty X Happy Hour YouTube channel and saw the interview there, Iron. So that was pretty awesome. And I look down and he's in here. That's cool. No, I don't have any. This is amazing information. I do not want to keep interrupting you, but good Lord, I could talk about every single thing you're sharing. Like literally, probably a lot of us could. So very important, so very important. And a lot of us. I'll say this. A lot of us, we're in our own lanes, in our own different areas of movements. We have vaccine injured in here. We have holy health in here, and these types of things. We have the counter trafficking movement with what we do. These arenas, all of these arenas, have people that do end up doing things like this, or we become victim, unfortunately, to people that do move like this. So this is very important. I think that a lot of times we go about our daily lives and forget that, not everyone is 100% and above board. And we also need to be teaching our children, as you were saying earlier, to actually be able to distinguish some of this as well as what you see fit per their age, right? And their education. But it's just so very important. Yeah, no, I'm good. You want about 5 more minutes, then we can do a short and give you a break or however long you want.
Sounds great to me. Yeah, and this is just, that was what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be recognizable. I wanted people to go through, even as I'm reading through it and writing it, I like see more instances in my online interactions where I'm like, oh, I wonder, maybe that was an indicator. And I do have to say that, each of these phases, these different things that are happening, they don't always mean that something is happening, right? Sometimes people are just going through a hard time, or they're just, doing things that work. They're not always trying to be nefarious in a sense. Not everybody is the darkest of the dark, but this is the exact same kind of template that they all kind of use, because you can easily see how you could flip this and say, you could use this in a job, and how a healthy job would use, some of these things in order to, increase your work for them, but in a healthy manner, right? And it comes down to control, which is really the end of it. It's like, are you still a free person? Anyway, so just going to read the phases. They want to identify you. Phase one, identify you. Phase two, they want to invite you. Phase three is reward conditioning. And phase four is identity reconstruction. So they've already started to change your neural pathways through your reward conditioning, through your dopamine hits, right? Seeking the dopamine pleasure that you get from these reward sensors in your brain. And then they start to work on your psyche. They start with your neural pathways, and then they start to work on your mind. So the objective of phase four, identity reconstruction, is to shift identity from the individual to the collective. They want to use shared language, narratives, and symbols to create group cohesion. The methods could be new terminology, shared mission, shared enemies, shared heroes, shared rituals, group symbolism. And it's important to say that I think that the humiliation ritual is in there somewhere, right? There's this identity reconstruction. They're seeing part of your compromise, which is coming up. So the organization increasingly becomes part of the individual's self definition. Some of the observable indicators that you could look for would be heavy use of group language or new language, reduced emphasis on former identity, and strong emotional attachment to group narratives, right? You can think about it even in terms of like a relationship. I had a girlfriend once that all of a sudden she started saying things like, whatever, like a surfer dude. And I was like, wait a minute. It's like, oh, you're flirting with the surfer dude. I'm making this story up. But, in the sense that you can see how through time there's been you can see how someone's language changes when they're influenced by a new person. And you're kind of like, wait, what? Like, I've never heard you use that word before. And this is really important with children, because then you can understand that somebody might be getting in their ear, right? If they start using terminology that you've never discussed with them, or saying things that you've never heard out of them, those can be warning signs that somebody is influencing them. And again, not every influence is bad, but these are things to be aware of. So, phase five is incremental moral compromise. The objective of phase five is to normalize increasingly difficult decisions and loyalty test you. Small compromises create psychological pathways for larger compromises. In sales tricks, people refer to things like this as the yes ladder. You get somebody to say yes on something small, they're more likely to say yes on something more. It's like, can I borrow $1? Can I borrow $5? Can I borrow $10? A very simple example, but you can kind of understand where I'm going. The methods are rationalizing contradictions, defending questionable actions, prioritizing loyalty over principle, accepting exceptions to stated values, sacrificing old friends, ideologies, or communities, and rarely is a major compromise requested immediately. It's going to be this incremental, insidious theft of your mind. Their goal is to rob you of your wits. So, some of the observable indicators could be increased justification of contradictions, growing tolerance for inconsistencies, and loyalty taking precedent over independent judgment. And I'll go ahead and pause there before we go to phase six. If you wanted to go ahead and do the clip, or if anybody wanted to come up and say anything or ask questions, very open to that. And then I can get a chance to take a drink of water and take a sec.
All right. Well, if y'all want to request a mic, please come up, share something that you want to share with us. If not, I will roll over to celebrate a little bit of Miss Allie Hopper tonight. I wanted to just tell her, because she may be replaying this space tonight. Thank you. She is in Washington, D.C. tonight at the DHS Symposium for the next few days, and she presented today in one of their breakout sessions. And she, I tell you what, this woman is fierce, fierce. And missed, I will say, all of us, including Allie, get nervous. I had a talk with her this week. We all do. But at the end of the day, this information is very important. And I want to share a little bit of just something that she shared. Now, this was 8 months ago, but this is information that's very good, and it's just something that I wanted to give Mist a break for a minute and share with y'all. And I'll just decide where to stop it. I'll give it about 5 minutes. Let me mute my mic real quick and make sure we're ready to go on my end. Kim, do you want to say anything before we get going started on the second segment?
Actually, yes. I wanted to make sure that Miss Marquis did not have a question because she has her hand up. And Brandy, you have your hand up too.
Okay,
So
that's funny.
if
I
you
don't
have a
even see
question.
them.
My hand's not up.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Well, Amy jinxed my phone, a couple of weeks ago. I'm gonna blame it on you, Amy. And I'm showing hands where I don't. So and I've even had I even turned the phone off overnight so it could reset for it's been working hard today. Amy had it working hard today. So okay. I just want to make sure y'all were good. Oh, and like and share and retweet bookmark. Okay, now go ahead, Brandy.
All right. So this is, and I will put it down below so y'all can watch the entire interview. But this again is 8 months ago. Allie Hopper on cartels, grooming laws, and what we must do now on the Cynthia Mannion show.
Going out,
No.
getting the story. Actually, you sat across from convicted traffickers in prison. What's
Yeah.
the one thing that they all say that still shocks you?
I mean, I guess not much shocks me. We've talked about everything: sex trafficking, labor trafficking, organ harvesting, illegal adoption. We've talked about it all. I guess the one thing that kind of, I guess, still shocks me, I guess you could say, is just that you don't see life in their eyes anymore. And so it's really weird. It's really dark to come face to face with someone that has lost a piece of their soul, because you have to almost lose your soul to be able to do that kind of work, to see human beings as commodities, to be able to exchange children for profit. So
What moment on the U.S.-Mexican border made you realize how big this problem really is?
I guess the first time that I saw it, when it was wide open, I was actually seeing people come into the country just walking right in. There were, in some areas, no meaningful border wall. And so people could literally just walk right in. They had all of their things. There were middle-aged men, just military-aged men, just walking right in with no one greeting them, no border patrol agent in sight. And so we did see unaccompanied minors. We saw them with slips of paper where they were told, this is who I'm to request to be my sponsor. I remember asking one of the children, do you know this person? Like, do you know where this is? Do you know this person? And they're like, no. So.
How did Florida's 2023 anti-grooming bill come together? And why is it a game changer for kids?
Yeah, so that's a great question because it kind of takes the story back a little bit. So at the time, I had just moved to Florida, and my family were really active in, advocacy and child protection. And so we had wanted to get involved. We got in touch with an individual that was running a nonprofit that was spearheading child protection trainings. And she had said, I don't have the ability to focus on this piece of legislation. Do you want to take it and run with it? And when I had looked at it, what it was it was an amendment to an anti-grooming bill. But the amendment was to an anti-grooming bill that was in Illinois. And I'm a paralegal, my dad's an attorney. And we looked at it and we said, well, we can't do anything with this because it only amends a grooming bill if a state has a grooming bill. So we looked at our criminal code in Florida and realized, well, we don't have a grooming bill. So this language doesn't really help us. We have to start from scratch. We're going to have to look at this grooming bill where that amendment was based out of the bill out of Illinois. So we looked at their language. It was passed in 2012. And so we're like, okay, well, how can we make this language more robust? How can we make sure that it's up to date with the different grooming patterns and methods and strategies that are used on our children? And so we developed language and found lawmakers, and they embraced it wholeheartedly and got it introduced, passed, and signed into law in under 8 months.
It's amazing. This woman is a go-getter, wouldn't you say, ladies and gentlemen?
Amen.
It's very
well, and I kind of want to, I just want to touch on what it is for the anti-grooming bill, it makes it a legal definition in the criminal code as far as what it means for an adult to sexually groom a minor. And so really, unless it's in the criminal code, law enforcement can't intervene. Every state has a criminal code. And so if a adult is sexually communicating or conducting themselves with a minor, unless it crosses the line of luring and enticing or obscenity or exchanging photos or videos, law enforcement really can't intervene. So in situations like sexting, they can't do anything until it crosses a further line. So this legislation made it a felony 3 in Florida, and now it's passed in a couple other states. Iowa was running it at the same time we were. We had very close connection and collaboration with Iowa when we reached out to them to run the bill. Representative Mark Thompson embraced it wholeheartedly, ran the bill from start to finish, and passed it in Iowa. And now it's being used. So it's bittersweet, Cynthia, because you hope that you never have to think about these things, but the fact that it's being used means 2 things. 1, that it's desperately needed, and 2, that we have a serious problem.
All right, I'm going to stop it there. We'll continue that later. I actually think we really need to get Allie back in here at a future date to discuss this further in detail, because I want to make sure everyone has what they need to make sure the grooming laws are enforceable and that there are laws on the books in your state. So we will continue that at a later date. I just had to share that. It was really good. See, I just want to share with y'all how much we do work behind the scenes to get these things done. These things are not done overnight. Carol knows that down there. That's for sure, when she works on trying to get some things done as well. So just be aware that we will have one coming up. All right. We're going to get back to our regularly scheduled programming. Take it away, Mist.
Okay, yeah, and there actually is a grooming section in this field manual too, more directed towards parents, but also the language can be repeatable. I haven't gotten it done yet, but it is one of the next ones coming up. And I think it's really important because they steal your kids' minds away from you. And it's one of the worst things ever. And, it doesn't, much like in this influencer pipeline, it doesn't start with, the more egregious offenses. It starts with, laying the seed and sweet talking and, isolating. And those things, like Ali said and Brandy, reiterated, is like they need to be punishable. And in order to be able to punish them, you have to be able to define them. And the whole process really makes me sick. The conversation of grooming is a hard one, but it must be had. Anyway, I will remind people. So phase 1 was identification. Phase 2 was invitation. Phase 3 is reward conditioning. Phase 4 is identity reconstruction. Phase 5 is incremental moral compromise. And phase 6 is isolation and dependency. The objective of phase 6 is to reduce competing sources of influence. The mechanism is dependence increases when alternative sources of validation and support diminish. You can even think about this in terms of the abuse cycle. They want to isolate you. They want to isolate your mind. They want to isolate your data set. They want to isolate your scope. So the methods could be distancing from critics, reframing outsiders as obstacles or enemies, increasing organizational demands on time, building a replacement social network, which implies sacrificing your old one, and then creating an us versus them worldview. This phase often resembles dynamics observed in abusive relationships, coercive control systems, and high demand groups. The observable indicators are withdrawal from family or long term friends, concentration of social life within the organization, hostility toward outside perspectives, and increased emotional reliance on the group. I will say that this phase, isolation and dependency, is when it starts to become more apparent. These are when those, the observable indicators that I've been discussing become apparent and or much more externally visible. But by that point in time, they've already kind of got their hooks in them. They've trained them, they've incentivized them, they've compromised their morals, and they're starting to isolate them. So at this point in time, by the time you see these indicators, it's usually, they're actually kind of further down the line. Phase 7 is the escalation of commitment. The objective of phase 7 is to increase investment until withdrawal becomes costly. People naturally defend investments that they've already made. Some of the methods are public endorsements, time commitments, financial commitments, reputation commitments, career commitments, relationship sacrifices, and um, the cost of leaving continues to rise. The observable indicators could be significant personal sacrifices, public defense of previous decisions, and difficulty reconsidering commitments. You can see how these things also kind of mirror a cult, like a cult of personality, a cult of influence, and how these kind of methods transfer across all these spectrums: grooming, abuse cycle, cultivating a dark influencer, cult, grooming someone to be in a cult. They're all the same sort of thing. If nobody has anything, I will go ahead and continue on to phase 8, but I would like to pause to see if anybody does. And if not, I'll just keep on going.
I think we're good. Oh, Marquise got her hand up. And Kim, I think it's your Android if you didn't get the message. Go ahead, Marquise.
Oh, you need to hush.
Are you not an Apple girl in your Apple world, Kim?
I
Okay.
am an Android girl and I fly that banner proudly.
Bless your heart, honey. Bless your heart.
I'm finally gonna be getting retirement one of these days. They keep saying I'm getting a deck. So when I do, I'm getting me a laptop and then I'm getting me a phone.
All
In
right.
in
That
that
sounds
order.
fair. That sounds fair. Okay. So, Miss, would you repeat what you just said? Because you said something and I lost it already, but just that last little thing you said.
Let's see. From the paper, I kind of free riffed at the end, but the observable indicators are withdraw from family or long-term friends, concentration of social life within the organization, hostility towards outside perspectives, increased emotional reliance on the group. Was that what you wanted me to re-say, or was, oh no, I'm sorry. Okay, no, sorry. I read the wrong one. I'm looking at the observable indicators. Significant personal sacrifices, public defense of previous decisions, and difficulty reconsidering commitments, all having to do with the escalation of commitment.
I lost it. It'll come back to me. Sorry about that, everybody.
Yeah, it probably doesn't help that I read the wrong paper.
No,
But yeah.
I had it. It was on the tip of my tongue, and then I lost it because I was laughing with Kim about the phone. It'll come back to me. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good. You're totally good. I will say that, and the escalation of commitment really does also include, not just these time commitments, financial equipments, reputational commitments. There really is a sacrifice that is made, and you can see it happen. Go ahead, Marquis. I think, did that
It came
spur?
to me. Sorry. Thank you. I was just wanting to say, I know a lot of times when we listen to these spaces that we listen and then we don't. sometimes we'll put ourselves in those shoes and sometimes we'll think, well, that's not me. And sometimes you'll sit there and think, oh, that's sort of silly because that's really not happening. Go with your gut. If it crosses your mind that something like Miss is talking about could possibly be have happened to you, has gone past you in the past, or if a dot connects to a dot and your gut feels it, follow that gut instinct. Women, you know what that instinct means. Men, you've got to follow it because if it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, I always get it wrong, then it's quacking is right. So anyway, bottom line is pay attention, don't doubt yourself. Just pay attention.
Yeah, I would love to tie that into something that Brandy said, at the beginning and put that post up there. Is like, you cannot believe these people on the internet. And some of these people are well-crafted personalities and very good at it. They're not all necessarily like funded and paid and stuff like that. But some of them are just very good at performing and keep notes about how to continue their gambit. And so, discovering them is, usually you do have to just kind of take that first leap and be like, look, um, I like Marquis said, trust it. And even if it doesn't feel right, or maybe the community doesn't quite see it yet, you still go with it, and that doesn't necessarily mean calling them out and being like, oh, you're being, turned into a dark influencer. Mist said, like, but it's just, that's when you start just like keeping track. It's like, oh, okay. Are there lies being told? Like, what are the steps that are happening? And yeah, really believing in your intuition because we all kind of know. We just maybe don't always want to know that we know. But sometimes people are obviously really good liars too. I'm not trying to say that, everyone can be hoodwinked, including myself. And that's part of the reason why I wrote this guide, because I was hoodwinked and I was getting tired of it. So if nothing else from anyone else, I'll just continue on. Sick. Phase 8 is loyalty testing. The objective of phase 8 is to measure reliability and obedience. The mechanism is testing reveals who prioritizes organizational interests above competing obligations. The methods could be confidentiality requirements, defense of controversial positions, demonstrations of loyalty, prioritization of group interests. And I will say that in terms of spaces, some of these more well-crafted, well-organized groups of people that have multiple threat actors, they will send in rabble rousers in order for you to, it's not only a test of loyalty, but you also bond better with the people next to you if you feel like you've overcome an attack or an infiltration. So they'll send in people, designed to cause issue just for them to observe your reactions and for you to bond to them more. Some of the observable indicators of this are public displays of allegiance, repeated demonstrations of commitment, increasing intolerance of any sort of criticism. So yeah, phase 9 is public commitment. They want phase 9. The objective of phase 9 is to bind identity to visible affiliation. Public commitments create powerful pressures towards consistency. We are social beings. We still are affected by peer influences, especially when we've been knocked off of our normal way of thinking through this pipeline that's we're discussing. Some of the methods could be public endorsements, leadership positions, media appearances, symbolic affiliations, high visibility advocacy. In terms of spaces, you could be offered to have high value guests come on your show, like, oh, you're going to have XYZ person come on if, like you just continue to stay in line, so they can use that as a also a hook to get you in, an incentive structure. So it's not, and then you're more obligated to stay in because you're like, oh, wow, I just got this gift from these people, this wonderful, hosting situation. Um,
So the observable indicators could be increasingly public association with the organization, reputation becoming tied to group success, and greater difficulty reversing position. People also have a hard time at that point in time admitting that they're wrong if anything does feel wrong to the person that this is happening to. It's very difficult for them to reverse their decision, especially when they're caught in the throes of it. Again, you can just kind of think of this as the abuse cycle. This is just another form of abuse in order to cultivate a desired action. So phase 10 is information control. Actually, let me kind of go back. I'll just reread all the phases again so people can just kind of remember because I'm going over a lot of stuff. So you have your identification phase, your invitation phase, your reward conditioning phase, your identity reconstruction phase, your incremental moral compromise phase, your isolation and dependency phase, your escalation of commitment, loyalty testing phase, and then you have your public commitment phase. And these things all combine in order to make you not the person that you once were. So phase 10 is information control. The purpose of phase 10 is to shape your interpretation of reality. People make decisions based on the information they receive and trust, and you've been curated in this pipeline to remain within this group for your data set, for your sources, for your speakers. They reinforce it very well through this information control. And the methods are curated information streams, approved authorities, narrative framing, selective amplification, and discouragement of dissenting sources. They really do want to push you deeper into them. We are the truth. We have the truth. You can only get the truth through us. And the rest of us know that that's not true at all by any sort of means. We all get our truth from somewhere else, I do believe. But some of the observable indicators could be narrowing information sources, reliance on approved authorities, reduced engagement with alternative viewpoints. You can see these things happen in spaces where people would host spaces and they would be like, come on in, anybody come by, talk, talk, talk. And now all of a sudden they're talking about how, oh, I just can't even associate with those kind of people because they want to destroy it, blah, 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 blah. You can see it happen pretty quickly. And I can think of at least a few people that, looking back, I'm like, wow, they really siphon themselves off. So I'll just continue on unless anybody's got anything. Good. You good, Brandy? Good, Marquis?
Think we're good.
Cool. Phase 11 is internalization. The objective of this phase is to make organizational priorities feel self-generated, right? This is when the neural pathways in your brain through your dopamine receptors and your repetitive thought, you've started to become actually biologically and in your mind the person that they want you to be. In this scope, we're talking about these people becoming influencers, right? But in terms of a predator and your child, or a group like 764 and your child, this is when the kid starts to believe that they are truly a part of it, right? Their brain or or the influencer, your brain has now literally changed so you become what they want. The mechanism is external expectations become internal values. At this stage, overt enforcement becomes increasingly unnecessary because you have now trained yourself. They have now trained you that you self correct. If you start thinking about things you're not supposed to. And this is where the concept of double think in 1984 really comes into play because you know that you're living a lie, but you're going to continue to reinforce that own lie within your mind. So, the observable indicators are self correction without supervision, voluntary defense of organizational interests, viewing organizational success as personal success, and anticipating expectations without instruction. The recruit no longer needs constant guidance, they become their own enforcer. And this is where, like, I don't want to say that someone's lost because I always try to have faith in people and hope that maybe they can find their way back to something greater than themselves or the greed or whatever that it is that they're chasing. But at this point in time, it is very hard to remove that person from the situation. You're probably not going to be able to get through to them. Just recently, I personally had an experience where a dear friend of mine followed, or an ex dear friend of mine followed this pipeline, and I can't even talk to him now. Like, I want to come in and provide reason. I want to come in and say my piece and be heard, but I won't even be heard because they have now internalized this MO. It's become who they are. And it's hard to do. I finally had to just say no more. I'm cutting this person off because these psychic vampires, they suck so much from you, so much energy and time and hurt and lies, and and they almost thrive on it, and that's why I call them psychic vampires. So phase 12, and we're actually kind of closing in here. I do have some more things that we can kind of go over or whatever, Brandy, or we can discuss things, but we are kind of closing in on the end of the paper, which is cool. I haven't made it to the end of one, I don't think, in a space yet. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, Marquis. Maybe we did finish one. But so phase 12 is the gatekeeper status, right? And so once again, I'm just going to read through because repetition is the father of learning. um, to get to phase 12. They've identified you, they've invited you, they've rewarded you, conditioned you through rewards, they've reconstructed your identity, they've made you compromise your morals, they've they've made you seek isolation and dependency upon them. They've escalated your commitment, loyalty tested you, public commitment as reinforcement. They control your information. You've internalized their monologue, and now you are your own gatekeeper and propagator. So the objective of phase 12 is to transform the recruit into into a cultivator of future dark elites. The mechanism reproduces itself through those that it has already shaped. The responsibilities of that person shift. It becomes to recruit promising candidates, reinforce group norms, reward conformity, mentor successors, and protect institutional interests. And at this point in time, because it's become internalized, it's not necessarily that this influencer needs a script where somebody's like, okay, I need you to go out there and recruit candidates. I need you to reinforce our norms. I need you to reward conformity, because they've been groomed, they've been changed in their own brain. They automatically do what has been done to them. In psychology, it's called the victim perpetrator bond. We see it a lot in the abuse cycle, where an abused person can often become an abuser, right? Because that's how they receive and learn. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but that's just kind of the same exact cycle. We can keep coming back to the abuse cycle. So observable indicators for yourself, you could notice, like, oh, this person shifted. They're no longer just hosting. Now they've got, what they could call like a prodigy. I'm sorry, a protege, or, they're a mentor to somebody, or you can see them kind of picking people that they think are going to be influential or boost spaces numbers or whatever you would have to say there. And then participation in leadership and selection processes. Um, so that kind of gets through all of the phases of the cultivation of an elite. And I will, by the end of this space, Twitter has been fighting me, or X, sorry, has been fighting me on trying to get this thing cropped so that I can put it in a post. But I will get it up so then everybody can go through and read it, because I want this I said a lot of things, and I appreciate you guys being in here. Not all of it is going to stick right away. These seeds are going to take a little bit of time to grow. And, I want you to be able to come back and kind of be like, oh, wait, did I see something that maybe reminded me of this? Oh, wait, I remember this one. What was it that he said were the indicators? And it's like, oh, okay. So I do want you to be able to come back and use this. And I do want you, obviously, I'm under lock right now, but if you follow Miss Marquis there, she can get my paperwork out in a public fashion so that everybody can read it, even though I'm under lock, because I want people to share this. Take it out there, take it and run with it. Do your own presentations on it. I don't mind, because I think that this stuff is important, for people to know. So I'm going to go ahead and read kind of like the final little closeout. This framework should not be used to label organizations based upon isolated behaviors. Many healthy institutions utilize mentorship, professional development, shared identity, and incentive systems without becoming coercive. The distinction lies in the cumulative pattern. Healthy systems generally encourage independent thought, outside relationships, transparency, constructive criticism, voluntary participation, freedom of exit. High control systems often exhibit increasing dependency, isolation, identity fusion, escalating commitments, information filtering, and social costs for dissent. You, as the analyst, your task is not to identify individual tactics, but to evaluate whether multiple mechanisms combine to progressively reduce autonomy while increasing dependency. The most sophisticated system of influence do not rely primarily on force, intimidation, or constant supervision. They rely upon identity. The ultimate achievement of any influence system is reached when individuals willingly defend, expand, and reproduce that system because they experience its interests as their own. At that point, power no longer needs to be imposed, it has been internalized. And I'll go ahead and stop there for a minute.
Wow, this has been a lot of information tonight, guys. We always say bring your notebook, and just because I wasn't the one presenting, or Allie or somebody else, does not mean not bring your notebook. Missed incredible information. I think sometimes we find ourselves in situations that we don't realize we're in the situation until we hear it explained. So that's why I think this is very important for people to hear from your view what you've brought together on these, what I'm going to call maybe infiltrators, maybe influencers, maybe groomers, maybe someone with an agenda. At the end of the day, you didn't realize it until it was too late, right? All of these different things you're sharing can be eye opening for us when we're in, like I said, sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees. You have to get out of the forest to see what's really going on. Go ahead, Marquis. Great stuff. Great stuff. Then we're going to go over to QAG for an update.
I was just going to say that there's one thing about the positive groups that are out there is they want you to thrive. They're very excited when Brandy has a successful moment. They're very excited the work that Into the Mist is doing. The accomplishments that Lindsay's had. It's positivity. It's thriving. It's not constraining. And I think that that's one of the things we have to look at is if you're starting to feel constrained, if you're feeling like your social network is being narrowed down, that could be from a groomer standpoint. If it's someone looking at younger folks, that can be from a narcissistic, abusive relationship standpoint. You've got to watch that with children. And I just would really encourage you to look at every avenue. I once had a boss that literally was like that. And road rage. We had to sue him. He road raged me, a boss. So I just want us all to look at every avenue because everything good will be positive, uplifting. If you're not feeling that and you get that gut instinct, look at Miss Notebook because there's a lot there that will help you. Thank you so much. Miss, You've just done a wonderful job. I love this workbook. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for helping me write it, Marquis, and making me a lot better by asking very poignant questions. Like you always say, bring it down to pre-K. And we kind of chuckle about it, but there's great wisdom in that. My dad always said, if you can't explain something to a child, then you probably don't really fully understand that. And I know that there's probably exceptions to that, but I want to turn this into things that you can, bite-sized chunks is the way that I refer to it, and I want it to be easily digestible, and I want it to stick, because all this data does nothing if we can't turn around and apply it. Right? This is just one chapter in the field manual for those who don't know. It is going to wind up being, I have about 30 chapters ish planned. They're not all so extensive, but it goes through grooming, the black pill to terrorist pipeline, the influencers, infiltrators. I try to cover how to psychologically defend yourself from all of these people, because we're in this brave new world where fifth generational warfare and spiritual warfare is used against us on the daily. And something that someone said, it was the trainer for the fourth psyops division. He was on Joe Rogan, and he said something that really stuck with me and really spurred me to do this, because um, he said, I want to make the American populace more difficult to psyop. And that really stuck with me, and I'm not talking about necessarily psyops, but I want to make the American populace more to influence, to manipulate, and essentially to psyop. So that's kind of why I did it. And Brandy, thank you so much for having me up and letting me teach this. I definitely will get this posted for everybody. Yeah, just when I'm like not just focused on the spaces, but I'll get it up there. And please share it, use it, print it off, give it to your family members. I've made it pretty easy to read. So I'm trying to do it as easy as possible so people can take this information and run with it. So thanks a lot for helping with that, Brandy.
Okay, so I had no idea what he was going to speak on prior to tonight. I knew the title, right? But I didn't know the outline. I assumed I knew what it was going to be about a little bit. Did not realize that you literally were creating your own 5G warfare manual, and did not realize that how much it's like the first post I put up top of our good friend Boone Cutler. He always told us, protect your mind, control your emotions. Those are two very wise statements. And if you can do those two things, oh my goodness, now I'm stuck in the bottom of the flipping thing and I can't get back up. Oh my God. If you do those two things, I mean, you can just really control a lot of how you respond to things versus react, and not being as easily manipulated. And wow, the coincidences, I don't believe in them, first of all. I think Boone is probably moving very much in this space right now. The first time I ever met Boone face to face, I was with Mr. Q Agnews up here. Um, we went to the Flynn movie in spring, and wow, and he's in this space right now, so that's just really cool to me. Boone Cutler was an amazing man. He taught us a lot about protecting yourself, and we have to do that. And everything you're talking about tonight, Mist, is about protecting ourselves. So thank you for that. And I want to go over real quick to QAG. I invited him in. Wanted to, let me give Texas Annie a mic real quick. Wanted to invite QAG in while he had a minute before he rests up for the night. He is at the DHS Symposium. They're calling it the Anti-Trafficking Symposium. I was giggling with Allie earlier today when she was on a break, telling her how it's really not anti-trafficking. It should be called counter-trafficking. It kind of sounds weird to call it anti-trafficking, but oh well. Anyway, QAG, how was today, and are you excited about tomorrow? How long is it going? Give us all the deets.
It is going through tomorrow. I can't stay tomorrow. I don't have the time or the money to stay in this hotel another night. Um, just so you're aware, the Ritz Carlton, crazy
Gotcha.
expensive, crazy
Whoo!
expensive. But it saves you from having to drive through DC. Anyway, day one was fantastic. Learned a lot. Just a couple of big facts to throw out. Number one, DHS has given a monetary value to the worldwide trafficking, and that's both labor and sex. And they put it at 226 billion worldwide. Um, I didn't know it was that big. You know, I'd heard the U.S. was around 40 or 50, but the whole world being at 226 is kind of shocking. Thing number two, they are actively seeking people for community help. This doesn't mean you have to run out and find a local 501c3 or anything like that. You can get involved in your community. You can talk to your police officers. You can talk to your DAs. You can be vigilant in your community, which leads to thing number three, which is, and it was confirmed. I mean, this is something Allie taught me a couple months ago, and it was actually confirmed by a bunch of officers here in one of the sessions from San Diego, and that is the DAs, or your local DAs, your local prosecutors, or even in some cases your state prosecutors, are absolutely required to be on board uh, to help them actually prosecute the cases that the law enforcement agencies find. The San Diego people apparently had a bunch of cases and didn't have a prosecutor. They finally have a dedicated prosecutor now, so they are getting a bunch of people, basically put in jail or prison for trafficking. And according to Allie, a lot of prosecutors don't think they have trafficking in their area just because they don't see the arrests for it. And part of that is education. They don't necessarily understand the laws. Another part of it is they aren't always willing to prosecute. Um, and that's one of the reasons why I created htmap.news, because I put all the regions on there, like especially Florida, I have very detailed uh, information on the map. But I basically put your local representatives, your local DAs, local judges where I could find them. So if you're seeing that, you know, you probably could have more trafficking arrests in your neighborhood, by all means, start putting pressure on your DA. Apparently, some of them do succumb to political pressure. Um, Thing number 4 or 5, or wherever we're at. Um, and I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh, no, I already talked about community, DAs. There was another thing, and it just fell out of my head. I have too much in my head today. I apologize, Brandy.
No, you're good because I know it's a lot. We've been at these things together before. Go ahead.
Um, but yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, there's like at least 500 people here, representing over 100 organizations. So I mean, there's a good turnout, and I mean, everybody is focused on this. Oh, I remembered what I wanted to say. Something I found out today. There's a national human trafficking hotline, and it is not just for victims to call in. If you have questions about a law, or you have questions about you think you saw trafficking, their people are trained to handle questions like this. So if you have a question, you think you see something, but you want to be sure before you call it in, you can call the National Human Trafficking Hotline, and they will walk you through everything. What did you see? How did you see it? They will help you figure out if what you're seeing is what you think you're seeing. And in some cases, they can actually help you get in touch with local law enforcement to start that ball rolling if you think you've actually seen something. Um, so overall, great conference, lots of information, and onward and upward. The biggest thing, get involved in your local community. That's one of their big messages. Um, and they want anybody at this point. Anybody who's willing to help, find a way to help.
And that is your call to action tonight, guys. Y'all heard it. DHS, they want help. And we say this all the time, right? Take this information out into your local communities. You have to be the eyes on the ground in your community. We cannot be those eyes for you. And QAG, the number 200 and what'd you say? 230 billion, 260 billion?
226 billion.
Wow. That's crazy. And a lot of people do get fooled because they'll say, well, Trump's shut that border down now, so we're good. No, guys, what you don't, I know a lot of y'all understand this in this space, but what a lot of our neighbors do not understand is that just shut down and bottlenecked the people coming in. You're never going to be able to stop all trafficking. It's been around for centuries, different forms of it. It will always continue, but we have to start putting an end to what's going on in our communities because all of what was going came through the border is now in our borders and they are being trafficked. So many different people. Our own domestic people are being trafficked. So it's definitely important for y'all to get educated, on helping the community get educated. I know you're educated in here generally, but the education that we share with you, we need you to take this outside. Go ahead, Q.
I was just going to say, it's like follow Allie Hopper. I mean, her organization is doing some phenomenal work in creating educational materials to kind of help people understand this more and kind of help them figure out, okay, what can I do in my local community? So follow Allie Hopper. I think I saw that one of your posts reference her. Uh, by all
Yes.
means, follow her. Great, fantastic educational resource.
She sure is. And yes, so we did put up top, guys, and go ahead and bookmark this. And I want to encourage you to look at this graphic. We were in a space, I want to say it was a Thursday morning space that we did. And she just started throwing this graphic together, and before you knew it, poof, she had it done. It's very important, and when you start going through it, you'll realize, how those things, how those needs work, and that's just how the human nature works. And that's also what makes us very vulnerable to the grooming and in turn, possibly being influenced by someone we shouldn't be influenced by. Thank you very much for that update, Q. I know you're busy and tired probably, so you can hang out if you want. If you want to jump, no worries whatsoever. I want to thank you for coming in and sharing that. Very
Aaron,
important.
my next destination is bed. I am dead tired. So have
Well,
a good
thank
night,
you so
everyone.
much. You too, and y'all make sure y'all are following QAG. He's got a lot of good information on his timeline, and he's got some good programs that he put out that are free programs for you to look at for teachers and foster system and a lot of different things. So go ahead and make sure you're following him. Good night, sir. I know you're beat. Go have a good day tomorrow. Then I know
Thanks
you'll
for
have to drive
coming.
back. All right. Well, we do have a hand up. We have Texas Annie's hand up and Zach. So we'll go over to Annie first, then we'll go to Zach and get back to Miss. We're only 15 minutes out, guys.
Okay, thank you, Brandy. Yeah, when he started to read on the grooming, boy, didn't that sound a lot like the psyop for the vet? I mean, it sounded exactly like getting enemies within your own family, not talking, can't see anybody, people hating you, won't even let you see your grandkids, and it's like, wow, that was one big psyop. It sounded just like what he was talking about, right?
Yeah, I think a lot more people in here can relate to different things as he's reading for sure. No doubt. And like I said, I think sometimes, again, we don't see it when we're in it, but we see it when it's pointed out for sure. Thank you so much, Annie, for sharing that. Go ahead, Zach. Oh, Annie just left. Go ahead, Zach. Thank you so much for that, Zach. Miss, did you want to say anything more tonight, or are you at a good stopping point?
Yeah, that we completed that chapter. We made it all the way through. If you want me to come and do more at another future time, I absolutely will. I have 6 chapters made out. It's going to be kind of like a 6-part. framing for the field manual, and I've even created little tests at the end of every part to help solidify in your mind. It's not like it's not like an SAT test, but just going through and getting you to think about real world situations that and they're very simple, but it's just more to get you thinking in that realm of things so that you can better recognize the patterns and better defend ourselves. And for those of you who don't know, fifth generational warfare is the war of the mind, the war of perception, the war of spirit. And just by being involved online, just by having a social media account, just by watching the news, we're all affected by it. And there's so many different competing um, agendas or psyops or movements going on, that being able to identify them is one of the most powerful things, I think, because then not everything is the boogeyman either, right? Then you can start seeing where the heroes are, right? And not everything is like you've heard like, oh, that's a psyop, and it's like, yeah. And then now we can talk about like, oh well, what kind of psyop it is. And honestly, one of the ways that I got really good at understanding this kind of stuff is watching commercials, right? Watch commercials with the volume off, see if you can think about, who is this commercial targeting? What are they trying to make me feel? The thing that Brandy said, is like, guard your emotions, or that Boone used to say, guard your emotions. I'm butchering it, but it's very true. They don't want you thinking in your right mind. They want you feeling and behaving and acting impulsively based on your lower emotions. And so if you can just override that, you can put their social engineering to rest. You could think of it like a scammer trying to get you to send money. They're like, oh, I need you to do this real quick. Like, hurry up. You don't have time to wait. Don't think, just send now, like, and you can also hear the advertising in there. But once they get you into an emotional state, then you really have to be aware, and that's where temperance comes in, because then if somebody's pushing me to be emotional in order to get a reaction out of me, I really have to think about, like, okay, why are they doing this? What reaction are they expecting of me? What are they setting me up for, so to speak? And people use this in everyday arguments. It doesn't always have to be something as big as, and I don't mean argument as in like, you did the dishes, I didn't do the dishes. I mean, just in the course of human dialogue, we all kind of have these arguments, for lack of a better word. And you can start to just see this, right? And you become more resilient in your mind, and more able to stand against these things. And there is no perfect manual, but the better that you get at recognizing these people, the better that you become trained at being able to control your emotions, and the more poignant you can be in addressing them, or speaking to your friends and community about it. So again, Brandy, just thanks so much for doing this, and I would love to do as many as you want to do. Just let me know whatever time we need to do it, and we can go ahead. So thanks so much, and thank you everybody for coming and listening. I do know it was a lot of data, but I think that it's kind of like you can hear the gears turning in your mind as I say these things. It's like the little sparks. You're like, oh wait, yeah, oh, I know I can see that. Just like Tex Zanny came up about the COVID psyop. It was the abuse and the isolation and the grooming and the rewards and the behavior. That's an excellent example. So thanks for that. And thanks everybody for giving us your time. Really appreciate it.
Sorry, I was responding to Allie. She said to tell y'all hello. She is tired and she is tucking herself in for the night. Said, no worries. Q came in. I love that both of them are there. It is so very important that, we show up at these events and make ourselves known and do that networking with DHS. And, once you are able to do those types of things. It's much easier to get things done once you have those connections in place. So I'm really excited to know that they're there and doing the work that needs to be done. And again, please make sure you are following QAG News as well as Allie Hopper and Guard Against Trafficking, because we all definitely need your support in this fight. I want to go over, I've got one speaker that's still up here. Zach, you just spoke a moment ago, so I want to go over to Miss Marquis real quick. Marquis, thank you so very much for coming in tonight and being with us. It's very important that we do, meet other people that are doing this, and you and Mist hold spaces. So I want to give you a chance real quick to share what y'all are doing. Maybe if you know coming up next, and is it her
Our
space?
space.
Her space. Tell us about her
Yes.
space, please.
So AK and I do her space on Mondays at 7. And we cover all kinds of topics that deal with women. The last couple of weeks, they were pretty heavy because we were dealing with some narcissist type stuff. Some of the stuff we're talking about here, but it got very close and personal for a lot of the women and went a little bit deeper in certain areas. This past week, we had open mic where we talked about anything. And Brandy, question for you: who did you have a crush on when you were younger? Who was your heartthrob from Hollywood or music or whoever?
Oh my goodness. Well, it began with John Bon Jovi, then it went to Jordan Knight of New Kids on the Block.
Okay, see, we fell between somewhere between Sean Cassidy and Justin Bieber in our group last night. But so anyway, her space is at 7 on Monday nights, and it's not usually just about stuff like that. But we were having fun, and then we're trying to get into a groove. But I think it's going to be Tuesday or Wednesdays with Miss and AK and I, and we're waiting for Miss to figure out the schedule, and we're working with him. So I have to wait to see if we're doing one tomorrow or when we're doing it. But once he gets his schedule worked out, we'll be very consistent because we want to share this information with folks, and we always love for you to come. And if there's anything you ever need from Miss, like his documentation, I'll be glad to get it since he is shut down. I'll be glad to share it for him. And thank you, Brandy. This is a very important topic that you all cover here with the children. And thank you for doing this service for others.
Absolutely. We enjoy it. And it does take a team, that's for sure. And sometimes it is a lot to prepare for, and other nights it's just a breeze. So we enjoy it. Hate to have to bring this topic, guys, right? But I mean, what other place would you rather be than sitting front row and protecting the kids? I don't know what else you'd rather do than that, that's for sure. All right, let's go over to Kim. I know Miss is going to say ladies first, and then we'll go over to Miss for some closing statements.
I just have a little giggle for my little sister. I actually had the older Cassidy brother hanging on my
Oh,
wall.
stop it. Just leave
Yes, you
David out
did.
of it. Leave David out of it. It's about Sean.
Yeah, I know. What the funny part is Brandy went to Vegas as a young adult and was coming back and told me and our mother about this awesome magician she saw in Vegas, and she just couldn't understand why everybody was making such a big deal out of it, and it was David Cassidy. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Of course, I say if y'all ever hear us in spaces and us being sisters, I used to say Brandy was adopted, but now I say I'm adopted. So but yeah, I also call her David Cassidy a lot too.
Well, in
So
case anybody needs to know, Sean is in Indianapolis, Indiana, I believe on November 17th. And I am looking for someone to go. This will be a dream come true. So, just for the record, thank you very much.
oh, I hope you get to go. Me and Brandy actually went to the rodeo a few years ago with another set of sisters, and we saw New Kids on the Block, and we had a ball. I had so much fun watching all the little sisters, oohing and ooging and, over them in their 30s. So it
Oh,
was
I
fun.
could, for
Oh, you're in your
$200, I could get
40s,
my
aren't you,
concert and
Brandy?
meet him. I can meet him and the concert for $200, ladies and gentlemen. Just saying.
I love it. Oh my goodness. All right, Kim, you have any last words for the space?
This has been a great space. Miss, you did an awesome job. and I am y'all definitely bookmark it. Because there's all kinds of stuff that he said, and I know I didn't catch a lot of it, so I'm gonna have to go back and re-listen. So y'all definitely bookmark it so y'all can go back and share it. Be sure and share it and tag it, requote, quote, tweet it, and say, y'all take a couple hours and listen to this. This is awesome. Important things that we need to know. So, again, thank you so much, Miss, for your time. And always thank you so much for coming up and co hosting and taking my slack whenever I'm not here. So, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. Like Brandy said, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Where else is there to be? And thanks, guys, for hosting this. Brandy, Kim, being here, Marquis for helping me with all of this, and everybody down there for listening. You could have been somewhere else, but you decided to give us your time and attention, and you did become stronger tonight. We all became stronger tonight, and I hope that as we do more, people will be inspired to come up and speak more on their personal experiences, because I've now planted the seed, and you're going to go and you're going to mull over it. You're going to think about what I said, and you're going to start noticing these patterns online. And I would totally love to have you guys come up and talk about it. As far as Marquise and I space, we will be doing one tomorrow, and she and I are just going through the field manual. The field manual is called a field manual on influence, radicalization, and psychological defense. And part one is the architecture of influence. And we started with chapter one, which was me talking about the dark priest class as an analytical archetype. And we'll be getting into chapter two tomorrow, finishing chapter one and getting into chapter two, which is the psychology of influence. So you guys did just hear chapter five, like because it was special for this. But yeah, if you want to come by, that'd be great. Please ask questions, and it sounds like Brandy and I will also be coordinating for another one of this down the line sometime. And please, like, come up and share your own experiences, because for a lot of the people, they can hear me talk about these data sets and stuff like that, and they can learn from it. But then somebody like Texas Annie comes up and just mentions like, "Oh man, that really felt like COVID," and it's like, that puzzle piece can drop in people's brain. So thank you everybody for being a part of it, and Brandy, as always, thanks for hosting and doing the great work that you do.
Absolutely. I am honored to be up here alongside of the co hosts that come up here and share time with us. Y'all are amazing. Our guest in the space, thank you so very much for supporting us. We're 117 episodes in. I wonder how far we're going to get. We're just going to keep on trucking. I want to thank everyone for coming in. And I just got some behind the scene news. Summer, I'm going to tell them. Summer and Alonka are going to be coming to Spaces. So watch for the Woman Project to show up very soon. Okay, I'm excited about that. We're going to have to get Marquis involved in that one. That is going to be so much fun. Guys, we are here every Tuesday night, ladies and gentlemen. Please join us next week, 7 to 9 Central. You will either be hearing from Tinfoil, who is putting together his own presentation, or we might have Mist back for a second space. We've also got two other guest speakers. We're trying to get their schedules situated, but I'm excited to share as well. You're going to have another space on Thursday that y'all can join for counter trafficking information on Thursday night or Thursday during the day. I'll put it down below. It's going to be 4 Eastern, 3 Central. We're going to, not myself, Daz, if any of y'all in here knows Daz, he is going to be hosting, and he is going to host Pastor Troy Brewer and another pastor that's coming on Thursday. And that Troy Brewer is the one who is raising the money and buying the homes. So we're excited about that. I'm going to be excited to talk to them on Thursday. So make sure you're in there on Thursday. I'll also put it down below in the bubble. Kim, go right ahead, and then I'm going to take us out with our song.
Okay, I'm fixing to tell you something, and your response is going to be shut up.
Oh my gosh, she's going to do this in a space, guys. Oh my goodness. This is
Guess
what having a big sister's like. Go ahead.
guess whose church is 15 minutes from where I am sitting at this moment?
Pastor Troy Brewer at Open Door Church.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I was watching it this weekend and it said, from Burleson, Texas. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that's where I'm at. Oh my goodness. Because I travel all the time, y'all. So I never, ever know what city I'm in, ever. Oh my goodness. Are you up here, Carol? I don't remember if she's, I'm getting
Yes, she
excited.
is. Back channel
Uh,
her. She is.
okay.
Yep. You might get to go see her sing. I don't know what nights she gets together with her band. You better check that out. Now Kim's getting really excited. All
Yeah,
right.
don't do
Shut your
me like
mic,
that.
sister.
Okay. Love y'all. Bye.
I love you.
Carol, I'm gonna be DMing you, girlfriend.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. See, there are some amazing people on this app, and we definitely just have to use be due diligent about checking people out and make those friends. There have been some amazing people I have met on X, and there have been some not so amazing people that I would have definitely, been better just not ever knowing. But that's life as well, right? So just use your discernment, use your gut, and we're going to take you out with a song by Soulful Squirrel Studios. I did put Mr. Rob Rivera, the guy who wrote this song. He is the Soulful Squirrel Studios. I put him down in the bubble below. He is a stroke survivor. He also has deals with tremors, and I want you to follow him and listen to his story and find out why he writes music and why he carves those curvy, wavy flags that he does. They're gorgeous, and I want to make sure that y'all know about them. All right, we're going to take you out with the song that he wrote, and we will see y'all. I'm not sure that we'll see y'all Thursday morning. I'll get with the team and see if we're going to come back this week. But if we're not back this week, we will definitely be back next Thursday morning. It has been way too long since we've had the morning space. Everybody needed a very good rest, but it is back in full swing, and the children can't rest, so we don't need to either. All right, y'all take care and have a blessed night.
In the neon glow of a lone star sky, predators circle where the innocent shine. 1,000 ads a day, brothels in the night, kids getting pulled in under flashing lights. Boots on the ground, eyes open wide, private eyes and prayers standing side by side. They don't care about your vote or your side of town, just a circle around the children holding the line down. We see the spies in the everyday lives, the devil in the details where the vulnerable cry, but the watch is keeping time. Tactical and true, circle of protection, drawn around them tight, hands together, hearts on fire in the fight. Shepherds watching over through the storm and the fight. The light breaks the darkness, turning wrong cameras, no fame and tell to the badges calling. Teams arrests in the papers, soldiers in the net. 11 more tonight, but there's more coming yet. From Louisville streets to the East Texas pines, mamas and daddies praying for the lost and the blind. We take a day to rest, then back in the fray, cause the children don't sleep while the hunters play. Yeah, it's heavy, this weight we carry, but grace ain't cheap. Love's got teeth. In the bathroom mirrors, we see our own scars, redeemed for this hour. Under God's graceful stars, circle of protection, draw it round them tight. Hands together, hearts on fire in the fight. Great Shepherd, lead us through the valley of shadow, restore the survivors, make the broken whole. All of us one family, no stranger, no foe. In Jesus' name we stand, watch the darkness fall. Circle of protection, shine on through the night. Protect the children from the circle where shepherds watch. Join the fight.
I got a couple different messages during that song. It gives me chills too, my friends. Amazing. All right. We will see y'all the Tuesday night for sure. Possibly Thursday morning. If we are on Thursday morning, we will be on the Shepherd's Watch profile. Hello, Sir Oliver. And it'll be from 9 to 11 Central, 10 to 12 Eastern. Take care. God bless. And we will see y'all for sure next Tuesday night, 7 to 9 Central. Have a good week, everyone.
This has been a telecast of Troop Fighter 33 on CSN Network.
This is CSN. We are exploring ideas. This is CSN for life. Connecting patriots, defending freedom. Conservative Space Network.
Yeah. You got that thing, okay? You get me. So that's been a telecast of that. So stay tuned for more. Be here for CSN and be here for everybody in between as well. And we'll see you. Pray for everybody as well. And that is a wrap here in a few minutes. So here's my fight. I get my fight songs to play, but so let's see.
Stay in the fight.
Stay in the fight.
Yeah. When it gets hard, that's when it matters most.
Stay in the fight. Stay in the fight. Stay in the fight.
Yeah, when it gets hard,
Love you guys.
went wrong, something deep won't let me break, won't let me fade. When the weight gets heavy and the road gets long, when the voice in your head says you don't belong, that's the moment you decide to stand and fight. Stay in the fight, don't you quit. Dig down deep, give everything you got left. Stay in the fight, stand your ground even when the world tries to take you down. Through the pain, through the fire, through the grind, you don't break, you redefine. Stay in the fight with all your might. You were born to win this fight. Seen darkness I can't explain, felt that pressure, felt that pain, but every time I hit that wall, I refuse to fall. They can doubt me, they can hate, they can try to seal my fate, but I rise every single time, cause this life is mine. When your back's against it and you can't breathe, when you're hanging on by a thread of belief, that's the moment you ignite and fight. Stay in the fight, don't you quit. Dig down deep, give everything you got left. Stay in the fight, stand your ground even when the world tries to take you down. Through the pain, through the fire, through the grind, you don't break, you redefine. Stay in the fight with all your might. You were born to win this fight. Never give up. Don't quit, don't quit, don't quit, don't quit, don't quit, don't quit, don't never give up. Don't quit. Win, fight, fight. If I fall, I rise again. If I break, I never bend. This is where I begin. Stay in the fight. Stay in the fight. Hear the call, right back up, give it your all. Don't look back, you're stronger
This
than every
is CSN. We are exploring ideas. This is CSN for life, connecting patriots.